Hi, what's up? This is Rebel Ray, your hostess with the mostest, and this is the Pruned podcast. Now, listen, I'm excited because I got my girl Lilliana Udang. Let's go.
What's up, folks?
Heart it up, clap it up. Listen, I am so proud to be here. As soon as I put these glasses on, I can see all of y'all. My vision is in that way sometimes. I found out a couple of years back I had astigmatism.
Stigmatism. There you go.
Okay, you know, black folks and aunties, we be making up names and stuff.
It's all about education.
Listen, it's about education. And that's when you see prisms, I guess, in your eyes. So I kept guessing at the street signs, and I knew I better go see the doctor.
Well, we're twinsies then, because I got astigmatism in both my eyes.
Okay, yeah, both my eyes. So bright lights really kind of
the little spark, little blades going off of the bright light sometimes at night.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here with us, though. It's important that we uplift our leaders in the community and really talk about what we've been doing here in Stockton and San Joaquin in general.
Yes.
But before we jump into all of that, I just kind of want to know about you. I think it's important, you know, when we talk about our leaders, we talk about growing. And I often tell everyone, we're focused on the growth and development and the love of the person. How do I show up as my best self? We're going on in our 40s and 50s. A lot of our older elders are now passing on to the great beyond. I do want to give my shout out and my condolences and love and hugs to the Thornell Clayton family. He was a pillar and a giant in our community here, the Black community especially, and also the Christian community church here. And he recently passed. So, you know, we take all those things into consideration about the growth and development and the evolution of the person. So I want to hear more about you. So Lily, tell us. Now, is it okay for me to call you Lily or Liliana? Okay,
Lily
so when people see you on the street, is it okay to be like, hey, Lily?
Yes, Liliana is my professional name. It's just the easiest way to go about solidifying email addresses and things like that came about going through school and getting into work. But Lily is what my family calls me. So if you ever see me on the street, Lily is perfect.
Nice.
But a little bit about me personally. I grew up in Stockton. I've got kind of what I would consider a quintessential Stockton story, which is you grow up here, you want to do really cool stuff, you want to figure out how you can do that, and the pathway that we see is getting the hell out. Right? To do that kind of a thing.
Yes.
And so it was ingrained in me very early on, right? You got to go to school, you got to find that job, you got to get that career, and then you got to dip. And so, again, very quintessential. I'm lucky because of who my parents are. My cousins, not the same circumstances, same upbringing as a lot of us, and they went a different path. I got very, very lucky. And so I went to school. I went to Delta for 2 years, went to UC Santa Cruz, got my bachelor's, came back, subbed in some schools, worked at a winery for a couple of years.
Nice.
Just trying
to go back to that.
Yes, Queen. I can take you all throughout Lodi.
You know I love me some wine.
When you work in a winery for 2 or 3 years, you start developing a palate. You start learning about appellations and soil types and all these different varietals.
It's a science to it, baby.
It's cool. It's really fun. It's a little bit of an art too.
Right.
And it's all personal preference. There's no bad wine. Right. It's just what you like.
And I tell people that box wine that them
honey, if it is good to you, it is good to drink. That's the rule. So
them auntie, we used to call them the boxes the aunties used to drink. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that was important for shaping your development too.
It was. No, it really was, because I learned, right, that we live in such a diverse county. When you grow up in Stockton, sometimes you're isolated, right? We're urban, but we are surrounded by all this rural landscape, and we don't embrace it. We don't engage with it because we don't feel like we have access to it or an ownership of it. Even like the Delta that you can see from the freeway every day. Yeah. I didn't step foot on that water until I was an adult.
Wow.
Right. And I grew up off Mont Diablo and could see it every day I got home. So
we don't appreciate what we got here.
Well, and we don't know, because our local community has not created an environment in which they want you to engage and appreciate it, right? And so that's why we always felt like we had to leave to do better and get things ahead. And so I decided, while I was subbing and working at the winery, I wanted to bring more back.
Okay.
And so I decided to go to law school.
Nice.
So I went to law school up in Sacramento, McGeorge School of Law.
Hey.
It's University of Pacific's law school. And I got the policy bug.
Let's go.
Right?
The policy bug.
The
and
policy
it's not
bug.
for everybody.
No.
Me.
And nobody really that I knew going into law school wanted to go to law school to work in the state legislature.
Right.
They wanted to go to law school to put people away or defend people or work for a corporation. I even had a friend who wanted to work at the IRS. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
counting them numbers,
everybody has their own thing. And
everybody has their own niche.
Yeah. My second year of law school, I bugged the chief of staff to then Assembly member Susan Eggman. And I said, I've got space this summer. Please let me intern. I want to be there. It took about a month of me going nonstop saying, can I have an internship? Can I have an internship? Can I have an internship?
I love it.
And he finally said, yes, we'll split what we were going to give to one person into two. And so you can come 3 days a week.
Come on.
And that's how I got started.
Shoot your shot.
Yes. I was super fortunate because our local assembly member also is all about bringing up the next generation and making sure that Central Valley girls have a voice. And so I got to see sort of firsthand what advocacy for your community looks like at a statewide level. I wanted everything in me to pour into that work. Wow. And how can we do more with what we have? Because here in the Valley, we don't always get our fair share. No. And our voice is sometimes dwarfed by the Bay Area and SoCal. And so how can you be more effective with your time? How can you be more effective with your advocacy when you don't have as much to go around? And that's the Stockton story.
And I think that's the Stockton story. And I also think a lot of times too that we're drawn out by implicit bias as well.
Like or this idea of imposter syndrome. Right.
That we're not good enough.
It's just ingrained in you sometimes. And whether that's because of how you were raised or where you grew up or a combination of the two.
Where you grew up. Because let me tell you, my mom's from Detroit. And it's Black excellence back in the day. I'm talking about Motown and all that. You got the hood, you got the ghetto, you got all of that. But there was growing up like a level of expectation. Yeah. And they put that in me. My parents did. No matter where we lived, and we lived in Stockton all our life, but growing up on the South Side, there was a level of expectation, Black excellence. Consider yourself for the job. Consider yourself for the job interview. Go after and travel. And everybody doesn't have that exposure.
They don't. And I'm the oldest daughter. I'm the oldest, period. And my father's Middle Eastern, my mother's Mexican American. And so I grew up in this sort of unique microcosm of what is now common in America, but at the time growing up was very odd for a lot of people. And so I had to be the responsible one, take care of my siblings, do all the work, and still maintain sort of my parents' perspective of what a daughter should be. Wow. And it can be a lot, right?
It can be a lot on the oldest, because I'm the oldest of my parents.
And a lot of times you can buckle under that pressure, right? But like I said earlier, I got really lucky because my mother's incredibly independent and outspoken. My father is compassionate and patient. Yes. It could have gone a very different way. Wow. But like I said, I'm very, very lucky.
I think you're a great mix of both.
I try.
You are a great
I do not always succeed at the patience part, but I try.
It's good energy. You can build on it. It's great foundation. Yeah. And when I first met you again and got reacquainted with you, it was our work in the community, working together, you going out there, volunteering, showing yourself, showing the community that you're there for them. And then you throw your hat in this race.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. You throw your hat in this race. So here you are you're growing up, you came back, you said, okay, there's something for me to do in Stockton. It's something for me to do in San Joaquin County. And really listening to that call. When did you feel the call to say, okay, I'm going to go to the next, I think I'm ready. Yes. Right. And you telling that imposter little girl, shut up, get in the back seat of the car. Yes. I'm driving. Right.
Yeah. It took a not so small push, a not so subtle push from now Senator Eggman. Right. Right. She is very much a mentor for me. And I have seen over the last 6-7 years working for her, how she has uplifted others across the state. Right. A really good example is Senator Menjivar, who's 35. I'm 34, got elected 2 years ago, despite incredible opposition and money against her, because women worked together and campaigned together and wanted to support another queer Latina to get into the Senate. Right. And so I have always seen in my professional career how people are uplifted when you have that sense of community.
Yes.
And my boss always says, if it's not going to be you, then who?
Come on.
Right. And so in my job right now as district director, I have to do outreach with our local community, constituents, local electeds. And, you know, the last few years, there's been money coming from the state, coming from the federal government, locally, just pouring in.
Trying to build this economy back up.
Yes. And so we were uniquely situated to say, what do you guys need? Can we be helpful? What do you need a pool, right? City of Stockton asked for money for McKinley Park Pool, for Victory Park Pool. We were able to do that. Manteca wanted a navigation center. We got them $16 million for that. The first type of homelessness infrastructure in the south of our county.
Advocating.
We got $20 million for Smith Canal floodgates, right? To protect the crazy flood risk that we have here in the city of Stockton that a lot of people don't know about.
People don't know.
And I can geek out on that.
We are in some places 16 feet below seawater.
Some of the highest flood risks in the entire country, not just the state.
Right.
But I asked our board of supervisors, particularly the ones that represent in the district that I'm running in right now, what do you guys need? What are your priorities? Let's figure out how to work this, right? So that we can get what we need for our community. And the response really was, you know, we kind of don't have anything written down, but our lobbyists and some of our county staff probably have some ideas. And I was taken aback because that's your job. You're the priority setter. You're the leader. If you are telling me I'm offering you free money and you don't have a list of stuff ready to go, what are you even doing?
You're not informing yourself.
What are you even doing?
What are you doing the work? Come on now.
And so in that moment, I decided I needed to run because my district, I've lived in this district my entire life. And the people who have sat in that seat, the person that's currently in the seat and the person before him and the person before him and the person before him were all passed down.
It's
a lot of hymns. And y'all know, right, that the board is 5 men right now, no women. And so
last one we had was Kathy Miller. Shout out to Kathy Miller.
Fantastic supervisor. Tried to hold her own with all these crazy dudes. She did fantastic. Grace, under pressure, all of it. And so I made the decision to run. And in 2022, I was pregnant.
Wow. And
December, I announced that I was going to run for office.
You dropped that baby girl, was breastfeeding the baby. I'm out there volunteering at the park. And we decided to do for re-engagement because we saw how COVID really devastated people's ability to connect. There was a social ineptness that were going on. People were scared to come out just to be in the park with each other. People had really kind of given up hope too on that whole social interconnectedness. Is anybody hearing us? That our parks are looking at this certain way, that our neighborhoods are looking this way. If I see one more piece of trash on the screen. So I had my work cut out for me as a leader to try to understand what was happening and say, okay, I'm going to put my glasses on, my solution-focused glasses that we do as social workers. And shout out to Susan Eggman being a social worker.
She is a social worker. She was professional of social work at Sac State.
Yes. And so putting my sunglasses on, putting my glasses on, and I'm out there. Let's till the soil. And you came and said, RC, what is it that you need? I said, okay. All right. And you introduce yourself and you say, you know what? I believe in this community. I believe in what you're doing. I appreciate you, how you're showing up. I am also going to show up. I'm going to run for District 1. I said, well, let's go. And I kept my eye on you like I do a lot of the leaders because I don't just jump on bandwagons. I'll do my research. I see if the person.
That's how it should be, though,
it's personable, right? If my representative has the ideas and also can model how to show empathy, humanity, love, but also show strategy. That's important. That could be diplomatic when you're talking about policy. Can work across the aisle. When we say work across the aisle, you can work with any party to get something done.
And at the end of the day, my policy and my vision is I don't care who gets the credit. I just want good shit done.
Let's go.
Right. So whether you're
put that Democrat, on a t-shirt, Republican. I don't care who gets the credit. I just want to get good shit done.
Yeah,
that's t-shirt all day long. When you get there, wear the t-shirt because the melancholy that I hear,
that I see,
and I understand what the county sometimes is performing, because if you come from a law and order only mindset, you're not coming from a holistic mindset, a trauma informed mindset.
Right.
You just want order at any means necessary. There have been many outcomes on why our constituents, our people of the city have failed to homelessness, have failed to drug use, have failed to not finish school. There are so many when we look at the ACEs scores. When we look at some of the statistical information that you're seeing, even at the state level in your daily job, it is displeasing. It is, you're distraught also. When I first got the ratios to the deaths we were having in the opioid and fentanyl crisis here, and also in San Joaquin County, and also just many other things. I was thrown back. And here I am, a social worker, looking at policies, always thinking about how do we help our people better advocate, educate. And you're right there. And I appreciate that. And so this is why I want to tell you personally, I can't do it as any business owner of a nonprofit, but personally, I have vetted you, and I want to say I'm endorsing you.
Thank you.
Openly.
Honestly, it means a lot. I mean, because if you guys don't know, the first time I met you wasn't when we were volunteering. It was when we were speaking at city council, because they refused to raise the pride flag. Right. And we didn't know each other from anybody on the street. But we immediately connected and understood that we were there for a common purpose, to provide dignity and visibility and access to.
That's what the pride flag is about.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are like, well, RC, they, other people who call me by my government that knows me growing up, you were raised a certain way. I said, well, what does that mean? Because now I used to avoid that. I didn't like that type of bigotry, and I wouldn't engage in conversation. So now I'll wait. I welcome the conversation. Come on, let's dialogue. What do you mean I wasn't raised that way?
I grew up going to a private Christian school until high school, right? And what I took from that was the compassion and the love that you share for your neighbor despite our differences. And so, I mean, other people can get their interpretations however they like, but that was mine. And I will never judge somebody based on their interpretation, but you're also not going to sit here and try to squash mine. So if we are talking about making sure that we're engaging the public, making sure that they have access and visibility into what we're doing, because that's really where I think the melancholy comes from, right? It's this opaqueness to what is being decided and how it's being decided and implemented. And it's whiteness.
It is 100%. It is superior complex. It is a God complex. This is RC. This is what I represent. This is the power I represent. You will follow. And when you do people like that who already has a distrust because of a superior complex, has governed over them, has traumatize them. Of course, people are not going to support your candidate. And
it's funny because we can't expect our elected leaders to reflect our priorities when they don't reflect our everyday experiences.
Well,
right. And so it's not just about like a diversity of gender or race or ethnicity. It's a diversity of experiences that you need on the board, on any governing board, whether it's the county, the city, the state.
You need the diversity.
You need it.
Why is that? Tell us. Break it down.
It's simple, right? Your priorities are your priorities because of your lived experience. And so if they don't share that, your priorities are never going to be represented up there. I am a mother of 2. I breastfeed. I have daycare issues. I'm a commuter. I'm a renter. I have student loans. I'm trying to raise a family right now, right? Where are the after school opportunities for my kids? Where are the easily accessible outdoor spaces for my kids that are safe and clean and healthy for them to be in? Nobody on that board is dealing with any of those issues in their everyday life right now. And so, of course, they're not going to become priorities.
They're sitting on a lot of dais when it comes to boards for those things that we want.
Air quality
they position
control.
themselves But when I'm talking about actually having the lived experiences and actually talking to your constituents, bringing it back to the boardroom and saying, okay, we're going to deal with this.
Yes.
This one's a hard one.
Yes.
But we're going to keep
and have the tough conversations in public.
I appreciate Paul Canaba for doing that.
Facts.
Paul 100%. He comes through, he connects, he supports. He's even open about his sobriety and his recovery.
He asks questions, right?
And I appreciate that because you're now showing that you are a part of our community here, in the diversity in our community, but you do not negate or the intellect of our lived experiences.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? I wanted to run. You don't see women like me running. It's hard for young women. It's hard for young mothers. It is hard for people who don't have social capital built up after 5 generations of living on this earth and building and cultivating those business related, right? I don't have any of that. And so it's hard. And so you have to have a village. You have to have help. You have to be brave enough and smart enough to ask for that help. But I wanted to run because if I don't run, if I don't win, it is more of the same. And if we want a different result, we cannot have the same thing.
We can't. We got to change our mentality. We got to change how we organize. And I know that accepts and scares the status quo. Some of the things that I've been seeing, even on the national level. When I saw that insurrection, I said, where are we at? It was caught between a Viking march, the Boston Massacre, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's how I felt with the terror. And you know, Black folks, they sat up there. I said, come look at this. I told them from the back of the, I said, come look at this. The incitement of this, the white supremacy that we're seeing from the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1940s, the 1920s. Anytime we see this change, it comes out vicious. The racism is real. And then to tell us to our face, the sexism and the racism doesn't exist. It's fake news.
Well, we have county supervisors who have literally said at the dais that unconscious bias doesn't exist in San Joaquin County because I've never seen it. Yes, white man, of course you've never seen it. How would you have? You didn't experience 9/11 as a Middle Eastern girl growing up and being called a raghead in school, right? How could you know?
Talk about
How could you? You didn't experience being a softball player from the city of Stockton, going out to these white spaces and having the people working in hotels looking at you like, oh, you look like one of me. And then having the patron go by and say, girl, get me that off the cart. I don't work here. I'm a patron just like you.
Don't touch my hair.
Honey.
And if you ask me one more time, how do you type with them nails? A lot of people
with
don't
my fingers,
know the microaggression, the euphemisms. Those are all part of that privileged mindset that you felt it was okay to open your mouth and ask me that. And no, you can't touch my hair. And if I change it up and put a lace front on, I put a weave on, I put some braids on. If I got a baseball cap on, mind your business.
Mind your damn business. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Oh my God. And they don't get it.
No.
They don't get it.
And they're not going to, right? And that's not their fault. They just haven't had that lived experience. And so it's one thing to understand, okay, they don't have that. But if they're unwilling to educate themselves and provide spaces for others that do have those other experiences.
You ain't an ally, you showing an accomplice.
Exactly. And so for me, right, I would never try to speak for a Black woman in a space where your voice needs to matter more than mine.
Girl, you did at that baby shower. You did at that. Our community lactation room was a success. The grand opening was a success. We did something and broke a lot of people say I'm a disruptor, but I like outside concepts. Let's embrace differences. Let's embrace new thinking, creative strategies on how we find solutions for the problems we're seeing. And I love the fact that, you know, we both get to work in the community in collective impact and we get to share ideas with like-minded people, intellectuals, right? We come as as we are. And you said, and we are going to support our Black babies and our Black women. Look, everybody was on fire. They say, yeah. So to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to really understand and want to feel what's happening in certain communities. That's big in leadership.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell you, I've been doing this. Like I said, I announced in December 2022, ran the entire year of 2023, had my baby in May, took off 10 weeks, jumped right back at it.
Come on, Superwoman.
And then I knocked on doors for months before the primary in March. I've been knocking on doors since for the general.
Awesome.
And I can tell you that the people at the doors know what's going on in their community and know how they want to see change.
Okay.
But that voice is not reflected, because one of the questions I always ask somebody if they open the doors, do you know who your current supervisor is? And when they tell me no, I say, do you know that he's been in that position for 8 years and you've never not seen him once?
Wow.
I'm here. I will continue to be here. Right. And yes, supervisor is a full-time job. And yes, they have to go on all these meetings and attend these different boards right across the region. But that doesn't mean you stop being accessible to your voters.
Well, it's truth telling right now. It's some truth telling, and it's gonna hit some people on the way home. There's a lot of sexism afloat.
Yeah,
of course. The fact that a woman can't somehow conduct herself, her family, cook, clean, have a baby, come back from death. I was talking to a doula, and the doula said it's a very sacred time when you're birthing.
Yep.
Because you're on the cusp. There's so many different things that can go wrong. And spiritually, it's a labor.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been birthing something. All of us, all of the leaders here, we've been holding something.
Yeah.
I know my body has changed. I'm not the superior goddess, thunderbolt, chiseled like I used to be. I'm more of this fertility goddess that's shaping it.
Yeah.
I'm growing up. I'm maturing. I'm realizing there's some things that I don't want messed with. I don't want my ability to have to go to the doctor if something happens with my body and I can't say
yes, ma'am,
that I can't get it. I don't want to keep paying this high PG&E and inflation.
Yep.
I threw a pack of chicken back down. Now, it's hard for me to put some chicken down. I fry some chicken, bake some chicken, broil some chicken, put the chicken in the chicken bake. Look. And I saw that pack, $24. I said, I might as well go get me a raw lime chicken, wring its neck. Because we from the country on my daddy's side. They taught us all of that. And cook the chicken, because my God, what is going on here?
Yep.
So when you talk about policies that support families, you come from, and I think when we were in a public meeting, I heard you talk about housing.
Yeah.
Here you are with a jurist. You got a whole husband who's also an educator.
Yep, he's a teacher.
You have two beautiful children. You pay your taxes. You listen. You do everything you need to do, and you can't afford to buy.
No, I cannot.
That's what you told me.
I can afford to pay off my mother's first mortgage, who got through life early on working in fast food and now working in cafeterias with 2 houses to her name. But me with an advanced degree, a husband with a full-time job as a music teacher,
Make sense.
I can't afford to buy a house. And honestly, let's be really real. Like, I wouldn't even be able to afford to rent the house that I am living in if it were not for my mother's mortgage. I'm just paying her mortgage. I'm not paying her a profit like so many other people do when you live in a house, right?
Right.
And so I can't even imagine how hard it must be for somebody not as fortunate as me.
Yes.
Because I see my privilege.
Well, you're looking at her.
You're
looking at
right.
her. So, and I share this to bring perspective. I don't share this for you to judge me. I share this to bring perspective about what it looks like to be unsheltered. So in 2020, just had the baby.
Yeah.
And my landlord being a private owner, I had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and I love me a nice set home. Drapes everywhere. Spread it out for your family. It's my house, and I live here, right? Put that Diana Ross on, that Marvin Gaye, burn that sage, pray, eat, laugh. Beautiful home. She comes into the home and says, "Huh, you got this thing decked out." you can pay me more money. Now, mind you, I'm on disability. At that time, I was paying $2,000.
Yep.
At the end of 2020, she wanted $2,500 for her home, which she's entitled. But Prop 8, was it Prop 8 that didn't pass?
For the gay marriage?
No, not for the cap on rent. And we didn't know that was the first couple of months when they put the governor put that restriction on putting people out.
That rent
I was
cap
still
increase.
paying. Yeah, I was still paying my rent on time. I was keeping the house. She just absolutely wanted more money. And she looked at me and said, it's just business. This is my home. And handed me a 60-day notice.
Yep.
To move.
Yep.
So me being scared, me being a single mama, I just had a baby. I was on my own in isolation.
Yeah.
You know how hard it was to try to find childcare? You know how hard it was to try to find a place to live? Everybody was on. They were cut off. There was an influx from the Bay Area that were buying these houses. $100,000 over asking price. I cannot make this up.
Absolutely right.
I mean, it was a full-fledged enforce of I call them our cousins, our Bay Area cousins. And here I am, a native, a social worker. I'm making $90,000 a year, and I can't afford to go put, at that time, 3 times down the rent.
Yes.
Who got $10,000?
Nobody. Not no ordinary people.
Not no ordinary people.
I knocked on a door last weekend, and they were asking me, does the county have any programs to help me fix up my fence? I can't afford to get my fence replaced. I have a nice house. I live in Weston Ranch. It's a good neighborhood. I can't get my fence fixed.
That broken window theory.
Right. And so I said, no, the county doesn't. But that's because they don't have to. They could.
They could.
They absolutely could.
And they allocated that budget for law and order.
Not even just that.
Oh my God. Over 40% went to the sheriff's department, to the county operations.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming to see how much, the infrastructure was cared about versus the people within the infrastructure. So when we started seeing this great exodus from California, businesses leaving California, you just can't afford to live here. And we became homeless.
Yeah.
And it was the first time in my life I did not feel completely adequate.
Yeah.
Depression set in. So many things set in for me, Lilliana. Yep. And when I remember you said what you said, I said, here is this most intellectual, beautiful woman. And she's saying she can't afford to purchase her own home right now.
Yep.
That's comfortable. And I this whole entire time being very, and I'll tell my testimony not to take from you, but I want to put a face to it because I want to destigmatize the ability to talk about how people just want to be unsheltered, that people want to be left alone. Let's just talk about it. If they're not in a shelter and they're in their tent, the safe camping that's happening, that we're wanting, people are wanting to just be left alone. They are traumatized. They're being told over here, do this, take this pill, wear this face mask. It was traumatizing coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to jumpstart a community who has been down in the dumps.
Also, you're trying to jumpstart a community that you have no ties to. Right. Why would anybody come to trust you when you've not been there for them? Some of the highest COVID rates were in the 95206 zip code, right? And it's not because COVID wanted to hit the South Side harder than anywhere else.
It was already disparities, health disparities we were dealing with on the South Side. Our expectation for life expectancy is 20 years lesser than our, census tracts and on the North Side. And people still want to say the data, but it's what has been allowed in policy. And this is why it's important for people like you who have that lived experience, that understanding the policy and the worldview, to go in to be our representative so they can speak from both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
You a bad mama jamma. Let's go. And that's why I'm endorsing you, because I want somebody who knows what they're talking about up there.
Yeah. I always tell people too, like, I've worked in the state for a very long time. But one of the things you learn being in this sort of in-between spot in the district, you're a bridge, right, between the locals and the capital. You are the person that has to learn how to move between those worlds. You learn how to leverage your resources. You understand when you work on projects that it's not just state dollars that fund it. It's a community local match. Usually there's always federal dollars. I always use flood control as a good example of this, because we need a lot of flood protection here. We cannot afford to pay for it ourselves. We do not have the tax base. We do not have the wealth, right? But what we do have is a scrappy understanding of how to pull those resources together. But you need people in power at every single level.
Here we go.
To make those connections to actually get those dollars
there
down.
It is.
Right. And to know when to ask.
Yes.
And to see the writing on the wall, enough to plan ahead, to say, we're going to need X, Y, and Z. So let's put those plans in motion now.
And I'm talking about have some cojones to you. Put your big underwear on.
Yes. Big girl panty time.
Big girl panty time. And go and beseech the heads of state, the heads of budget, and say, this is what my constituents need.
Yes.
And don't be afraid. Be unafraid.
You should never be apologetic for fighting for what your constituents need, right?
For what you believe in.
Yes. And so I have, like I said, I've had a front row seat to one of the baddest ladies I've ever met.
Come on.
Sit in a chamber with 40 other senators, all of whom represent 1 million people apiece. And say, this is not good for my district. I don't care what party you are. I don't care what organization is supporting this. If it's not good for my district, I'm not voting for it.
Come on.
Right. And so being able to articulate those needs, being able to fight for those needs, and being the lone voice when you need to be. That's the hard part, right?
See, they not ready for that. Look, she's dropping gems, y'all. When we talk about growth and development and understanding your purpose, your sacred purpose, knowing who you are, loving yourself through the pruning.
Yes.
It's about being able to stand and speak to that life.
Yeah. And speak on it on your own sometimes, right? Because not everybody's going to have your back, and not everybody's going to agree with you. But if you are working within what you know and what you believe, you stand on that.
Come on.
You puff out your chest and you do it the right way, right? You don't got to get aggressive all the time. Right. You don't have to get hostile all the time, although there is a time and place, right? Don't get it twisted. We are from Stockton. I know how to pull that out when I need to.
I see it when you go into town and you get that finger going. I'll be like, listen, she ready. She ready.
But you strategic, right? You got to know how to work this system. And it is a system. It is a game. And we should be able to teach other people how to work within that system and work within that game to get what they need. And so I want to be that person on the board. I want to be able to say, this person sitting here in this auditorium is asking for better access to water for their kids. How do we make that happen? I don't want to hear, oh, well, that's really a state issue. No. We can be creative. We don't have to sit back and wait for the feds or the state to come and say, here, you can do this. I'm going to tell
you, our water is not good
It's
here.
not. Our air is even worse.
The newer water plant over there off of 8 Mile in that district over there, they're getting a little bit better water. But the buildup of calcium minerals within our water, the chlorine itself, the water treatment facilities have to pour in there. To try to just make it usable.
Well, and you know that one of my areas that I've been working in for the last 6 years is water.
Okay, let's go. Tell us about
it. And so trying to articulate at the board why water is so important, not just for ag, which is what is usually the conversation, right? When we talk about water, it's how do we help ag with water? It's how do we get quality water into our urban areas? We pull water from the Delta, but we still have a sunken ship, chilling at the bottom of the Delta. Nobody wants to take responsibility for it. The county doesn't want to chip in. The city doesn't want to have to do it all on their own.
It happens all the time too.
All the time. Do you know, we ran a bill a couple of years ago to try to do away with all of those abandoned vessels. And we had to bring State Lands Commission, CDFA. We brought all these, the feds, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We were bringing everybody together.
Dealing with territory.
Do you know who wouldn't come to the table to support? The county.
Yeah, but the sheriff department always talking about they got to go out there
because they're the law enforcement authority that tag boats. They're the ones that are supposed. But I digress. The point is, if we don't have knowledgeable leaders willing to fight for what we need, we will never get it,
and we won't see the the development that we need. I want to talk about the fact that there are those that are saying that we're not able to say health equity. We're not able to say social justice or woke informational words at the county level. How would you show up if we get you in there, we vote you in? Yeah. How would you show up in the language? What's to be expected from you?
I always start every conversation that I have about policy with an equity focus, right? Not an equality focus, but an equity focus, because there are two very different things. And going into a building like at the county and explaining that is the start, because we are so far removed from being able to have equitable policies and programs and services when we cannot even let ourselves say
the word equity.
And so
make it make sense. I thought I was in the twilight hour.
No, you are not.
Make it not. This tea. I need some slower.
But I think we can get there, right? I think it takes 3 votes to get something through the county. Yeah. I think we have a unique opportunity in this election cycle to flip that board from what it has historically been. And I really do believe that as long as we are persistent, right, and thoughtful in the approach, we are going to get there.
We can get that change.
It's slow, though. It is going to be slow at first, right? You can't expect 150 years of the same to change overnight.
No.
Because it's institutional. It's not just the supervisors. It's the county staff, right? It's the CAO's office. It's all the people that
participate in it.
Exactly. And so trying to culturally change the institution is going to be a big part of that. And I don't mind being the squeaky wheel the whole way through. Because you're going to hear me, you're going to see me.
I love it. And I have my WD-40 when you need to not be squeaky.
When I try to get up off this couch on my knees.
It's so hard just carrying it sometimes.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you have the world on your shoulders and you need to change your hat? I'm dealing with that with my spouse right now.
Yes.
Like, leave RC at the job, right?
It's hard for me too, right? Because my campaign is after hours.
Right.
Politics is my work.
Right.
And so what do I do is a lot of things are very nerdy.
Okay. I'm a nerd. So.
I crochet.
I love it.
Right. I crochet toys for my son.
I love it.
So we did like a Psyduck. We've done like a Bluey character, these big dolls.
My goodness.
We play Pokemon Go with my son because he's old enough to walk with us and go around the community and play. And then a lot of nerdy TV. I like Doctor Who. I watch a lot of Game of Thrones and Star Trek Next Generation.
Yep.
And then my husband, like I said, is a music teacher. He's a musician. He went to UOP and did jazz studies as his major, right? So we have a lot of music in our home too. Right. And so while it's sometimes very hard for me to disconnect and turn that off, family helps take me out of it. When you got a 15-month-old, that's the focus. He doesn't care about anything else that you're doing, because when he wants to nurse, he's ready. When he's hungry, he's ready. When he needs his diaper changed, he's ready. And when he's ready to go to bed, he's going to tell you, up. He wants to go upstairs. He's babbling, talking. Baby. It's cute. So you just got to figure out how to make that balance. And it's not always going to be balanced. Right. That's the other thing I've had to come to accept. This idea of work-life balance has to be perfect. Everybody's work-life balance is different. Don't compare yourself to somebody else's work-life balance, right? If it works for you, it works. And I've had to sacrifice some things, right? Quality time with my husband has had to be sacrificed because of campaign.
Wow.
But what we do is try to go canvassing together.
That's
right. So bring the kid on the scooter and one on a stroller. We're all walking together and hanging out.
You're chomping down these life goals with each other, trying to balance it.
And my husband and I have been together since we were 16.
Wow.
So we've grown up together, right, into adulthood, and have learned how to work within this sort of relationship.
You have a beautiful mixed family. Your husband, he's what ethnicity?
He's Filipino.
He's Filipino.
Yes, that's the Udang. My maiden name was David.
Wow.
I was taking anybody's last name. I did not care.
We're cousins. Yeah. No, I'm serious.
For real?
Yeah. So my mom's maiden name is David.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so it was Davis coming out of Georgia, and they were running from some type of and capture sharecropping situation. They changed the name to David. So our surname is David also. Okay. We have a bunch of Davids. Detroit, Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's funny. Yeah, David. No, David is so like I said, my dad's Middle Eastern, right?
Yeah.
And David in the Assyrian culture is a very common last name. And and if you don't know, we have a huge Assyrian population in Modesto and Turlock here in the valley, right? And so it's one of those unique positions to be able to be like, I'm Assyrian, and people go, what the hell is that? And I just say, you've heard of the Babylonian Empire, right?
Right.
Before that.
Right.
Before that.
Right.
That was us.
I forgot what the king was that was really was it no, it wasn't King Manasseh. It was an Assyrian king.
There was Nebuchadnezzar.
Yep. Nebuchadnezzar. Everybody knows Nebuchadnezzar. So yes, that far back.
Yes.
When he fell to the ground and he turned into a beast. Yeah, I know my Bible.
Got all the stuff.
But I think about all the beautiful people around us and the lessons that we listen to, we hear, we see. I take them with me when those days get hard.
Yeah.
And I release them. I build space where I can connect with people.
Yeah.
And we can release and we can support each other. And I think there's a calm now, because that needs to be like that growing up. And I'm glad that you're seeing yourself and how you're balancing. I think that's part of the pruning too. You go through some things and you tell yourself, no matter what, this is who I am. I'm going to stick to it. These are the things that I want to show up in my community, how I want to show up.
Yeah.
That's important.
It is. If you are not authentic, right? I mean, I think people in Stockton have a bullshit radar, like a good one, generally speaking. They can tell when somebody's being phony, when they're being fake, right? Okay. And if you don't bring your whole authentic self to what you're doing, it doesn't work for anybody, including yourself.
It don't work. It backfire.
It immediately. Because like I said, I used to watch my grandfather, who grew up picking prunes down in Wasco.
Yeah.
Came up here to work at Carnation at the time, the factory, the Nestle, right?
The Nestle.
Wow. But he only went up through 8th grade, right? So he didn't have a full formal education. But he had common sense.
Yes, he did.
And he knew how to call bullshit for bullshit. And stood up for himself and his family.
There it is.
Period.
That integrity.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking for again in our leaders. I want to tell you, this time always with you and having this support, having this connection really helps me. It helps me to see you in the community. It gives me hope. It inspires me. When I see you volunteering, you're a help everywhere you go. I think that's important. So, I want to take pause real quickly, because I always would like to, connect you all to what's going on in the community. It's important that we show up in the best way. And this is our segment for our church lady announcement. Let's go. So, growing up Pentecostal, I don't know if you ever went to a Black church.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And we can go 3-4 hours. The first time I went to like a predominantly white church, we were out of there in like 45 minutes. I thought it was like, what is going on here? I was like, has there been a fire drill? What's happening? I had never experienced that in my life. It was so funny. But I always try to get out there what's happening in the community. So I have a couple of things that's going on. The Hollywood Cares Foundation and the Sierra Vista Resident Council presents Summer Splash Party, celebrating Sierra Vista residents, September 7th, 11th through 3 p.m. If you all don't know who Hollywood Cares Foundation is, that is the nonprofit that Jason Lee leads, and it will be at 1520 East 11th Street, Stockton, California. Free fun, pizza, games, and it's a pool party, and it's for the residents of Sierra Vista. We got happening, you all. It's a lot of things that's happening. That's been happening. Saturday, August 31st, Black Family Day. So Stockton Family, Black Family Day is having a Labor Day weekend. It's a super event that's happening. They are celebrating African American art and culture. That is the theme. So get moving park horse with Chai Edify and Girl Trek. Men and women, senior teens, walk or run and exercise 7 a.m. sharp. Fremont Square Park, 338 East Lindsay. All ages welcome. You can walk or run or exercise, getting us active in the Black community. That diabetes, hypertension. I used to tell my auntie, let me feel your elbows. I know you're a good cook. If I'm feeling them elbows, you got them double elbows. I know you working real good. So get moving. Listen, it's going to be the first 50% participants to arrive will receive a free healthy breakfast and drinks. It is brought to us by Reach and Public Health Advocates. Please come out and connect because that's what we're needing to do. September 1st is Faith and Community. It's 3 p.m. Stockton Civic Auditorium, 525 North Center Street, Building African American Wealth in the Community, Black Economics with Bishop Rufus Turner and Victory and Praise. And Woman of Value Evolving, Nothing Less, presents The Woman at the Wall theatrical production, written by Leticia R. White. Next, we'll be talking about coming out and supporting all 3 days, the actual event, Monday, September 2nd for Labor Day, and happy Labor Day, early Labor Day to you. Stockton Black Family Day celebration is going to happen at Weber's Point Event Center, 221 North Center Street, Stockton, California, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., noon to 4 p.m. Health and wellness screenings, resources, children's pavilion with activities, and family resources sponsored by First Five of San Joaquin. That is a part of our community announcements. We have coming up November 2nd at 6 p.m. doors open, at 5:30 p.m. at the Warren Atherton Theater, 5151. That's at San Joaquin Delta College, Pacific Avenue, Stockton, California. The Mooney Foundation presents Janice Feaster's explosive stage play, Love and Circumstances. Ooh, it sounds like some drama. I used to be up at the funeral home in the back. I was a kid at the funeral home, and I see all the drama play out.
Oh, no.
I be watching, and I'm like, ooh, she gonna see her in the parking lot, being a little girl watching all of that stuff. So that sounds like it. Shout out to my girl, Elaine. She is a visionary here. She belongs to the Starworth clan.
Okay.
Next, we have on the 28th of September, we are going to be coming together to host the 4th annual community wellness hike for Shaw for Community. Shaw for Community has been, blowing up.
Yeah.
We're finding out that people are coming slowly out of isolation and saying, I'm having some problems. I'm dealing with mental health. I'm having some suicide ideation. I don't know how to correspond, connect with people as much as I need to. And so shout out to Lakeisha Little Shaw. She has been demonstrating with her board, with her admins. I'm a part of her admin staff. I really push the brand because I believe in the brand and what it's doing for our community. It is getting Black and Latinos and every other color coming together. We're walking through those woods. And let me tell you, she posted something because she's always climbing some summit. I said, girl, that's that part of you that I don't know about. I don't see myself climbing on the side of a mountain, hanging off with a Shawnator. I said, girl, you're amazing. And that's what we need to do. We need to uplift our leaders when they do great things.
Yes.
And so that will be at Lake Chabot. If you need a ride, all you have to do is call. There will be fun music, Zumba, yoga as well, from Brown Sugar Yoga. There will be a gift bag that will be given to you, and also a resource fair and tabling. This is a free event. We want you to come out and be in space. The South Stockton Reinvent South Stockton Coalition is presenting the Save the Day South Stockton Resident Summit Block Party. It's going to be free fun for the whole entire family. The first 300 people will get a free meal. You know how we do. We feed our people. There will be games. We'll have a car show from Sangre Car Club. They have a beautiful Chicana community
Yep.
following.
Yep.
And they come out. And that'll be October 5th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And let me tell you, the music we got on the list, you know, you and your husband, y'all got to be there. Some music lover that's popping off. We got MTV band here, local beautiful band, but they be going all over. They be singing the most beautiful oldies and Motowns and the amazing Frankie Beverly music, the funk that we need.
That's awesome.
That boom, 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 boom. You know, on the bass, they're going to be singing a 2-hour jam session.
Okay.
We're having that live music. And then we're going to have Latin magic, a touch of Latin magic for our Chicano community with the oldies and that good rollout music that we like to glide to. And so we're going following that event. Now, remember, doors opened at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That same day, we're going to be having the Reinvent South Stockton Coalition's 10-year reunion. It's been 10 years.
Dang.
10 years since Mayor Michael Tubbs and a lot of our founders and leaders came together and said, look, we don't like what's happening in the South Side. We're going to come together. We're going to band together. And I remember being a clinician working at Fathers and Families during this time. And that was 2014. Can you believe that? So it's going to be 10 years. We're celebrating the social justice dinner October 5th. It will open, doors open at 5:30. Tickets are $75. If you need a sponsorship, reach out to info@rssccoalition.org. We're not turning anybody down. You need to come be in space with us. We're going to be uplifting awards and demonstrating how we support and love on the South Side. We'll also be showcasing Transcending the Concrete, which is our ongoing docuseries, really monitoring and supporting the narrative of the South Side, telling us about the stories, telling us about the people in the trenches, the ones that you don't hear about, what they're doing for their community to heal their community. And that's important. That's important. When people try to destroy books, they try to kill narratives, they just try to destroy places of worship. You know, you have to be diligent on uplifting the light. And you can be with us in light at our Parks Activation event. We're rededicating the community garden. So, you know, the state of California took over the San Joaquin County Fairgrounds. And so their board is rededicating the Hmong Garden.
That's amazing.
And that Hmong Garden has brought so much food to the community. Our Hmong community members and brothers and sisters, they work day and night on weekends, keeping that garden going. And some of them have already went on to be with Creator. And so they want to rededicate it and give them plaques. And so that'll be happening at 11 a.m., at 10 a.m. And shortly following, we'll have a mixer at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our Partners Trust for Public Land will be out with other funders and other individuals who are really want to talk about our waterways, our public land use, and how it benefits the people. And so it's a meet and mix. We'll have special presentations and a data review. You want to know about your waterways, you want to know about the land that's being used, how parks are being used, come out to that mixer. And that's going to happen at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the on grounds at the county atrium. And listen, that was your church lady announcements. I think I got through it okay.
It sounded good to me.
Listen, I didn't do it like the mother. She went and God said, hallelujah. Then she get up there and she get to shouting and the Holy Ghost fall on her. And that's funny because, you know, it always tells a story of how we see our lives. And I never thought, sharing information, we would come up with that, but we came up with that one day on the podcast. And lo and behold, Lakeisha Little Shaw brings me a scarf and said, "Here, put it over here like the old lady church ladies." And those are those traditional things that we laugh about, but it brings the diversity, that inclusion that I sometimes miss in other different spaces. Yeah, you know, and I'm hoping that you bring that back to the dais. We need that. We need that perspective. We need the feminine energy on that dais, the nurturing mother, but also the tough, progressive person that I know you are. And you're gonna do wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
You're gonna go far. And I know you don't. You're not gonna leave us. I think sometimes that those that live in the city have abandonment issues at times.
Yeah. I will tell you this, win or lose in November, I will still be doing work for the community, right? So if I'm not doing it in that building as a county supervisor, I will be doing it in the Capitol.
That's right.
So no matter where I end up, it will be in service of my community.
I love it. And those are the last words, because I'm not going to say nothing after that. In service of your community and our community. Thank you, Lilliana. I appreciate you for being here.
Yes, girl. Thank you.
Let's go. Tune in every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Spotify, YouTube, and also Facebook Live. This is Rebel Ray, and I am your hostess with the mostest. Peace.